Have you ever had the feeling that everything is under control in your financial life, but deep down, something doesn't seem right? That strange feeling that the money comes in, the bills are paid, the routine continues to function, and yet nothing really moves forward. If this question bothers you a little, stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't generic advice. It's a warning that almost no one takes seriously until it's too late. The truth is that most people don't go bankrupt because of big mistakes. It's not an absurd decision. It's not a sudden collapse. The problem almost always starts small, silent, discreet. These are signs that appear today and that we choose to ignore with a dangerous phrase, "I'll deal with it later." Later, I'll better organize my personal finances. Later, I'll think about building wealth. Later, I'll understand this money game more calmly. And while that later never comes, time goes by and money keeps noting everything. Because money has a cruel characteristic that almost no one explains. It doesn't punish immediately. It doesn't give a warning sound. It doesn't send notifications. It doesn't create alarms. It demands payment later. It demands payment in the form of constant anxiety, a feeling of being behind, of ever-increasing effort to maintain the same standard. It demands payment when options dwindle and the margin for error disappears. Have you ever experienced this? Working more, earning a little more, and still feeling like you're always playing catch-up. At first, everything seems normal. Salaries come in, bills are paid, there's no apparent crisis. That's precisely where the danger lies. It seems like everything is under control until it isn't anymore. And when that turning point happens, many people realize they've spent too much time on the wrong side of the financial game, without realizing there was an invisible line separating those who merely survive from those who actually begin to accumulate wealth. This is where something almost no one has told you about personal finance comes in. There is a point of no return, both emotionally and financially. A moment when ignoring basic decisions costs much more than it would have before. It's not just about numbers. It's about behavior, repeated choices, and the illusion of control that makes so many people believe they are safe when, in reality, they are merely comfortable within a system that wasn't designed to enrich anyone. Perhaps you're thinking now, but I'm not doing badly. And that's exactly the thought that keeps so many people trapped for years. The game doesn't require you to be doing badly to start losing. It only requires you to postpone important decisions. Stay with me until the end, because understanding this completely changes how you see money, time, and freedom. What you're about to discover might surprise you, especially when we start to see the invisible game that's happening, while most people still think they can put it off. And perhaps that's exactly why this conversation needs to be collective, not solitary. Because when we talk about money, about postponed decisions, and about that silent discomfort that accumulates over time, many people realize they're not alone. They just never had the space to say it out loud. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. It could be a situation you've experienced, a question, or even that hard to explain discomfort that kept nagging at you while you were watching. This space exists precisely for that purpose. And if, at any point during this video, you felt that that's exactly it feeling inside, liking the video helps more than it seems. It's not just a button, it's a sign that this type of content needs to continue appearing, reaching other people who are also going through this phase, but still think the problem is only theirs. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people who need to hear this kind of message before the price gets even higher. Subscribing to the channel is also a way of saying, I want to understand this game better. I want to learn to see before paying the price. Nothing here is about easy money or empty promises. It's about awareness, building wealth, and decisions that, when made at the right time, completely change the course of events. Stick around, because this conversation is just beginning, and what comes next delves even deeper into this warning that almost no one takes seriously. Something is happening while you're living your normal life, and almost no one notices. The bills get paid, the paycheck arrives every month, the routine works, and this creates a dangerous sense of progress. It feels like you're moving forward, when in reality you're just keeping moving in the same place. It's like running on a treadmill that never changes the scenery. The effort is real, the tiredness is real, But the progress, that's just a well-constructed illusion. This is the invisible game, a game that happens parallel to ordinary life, behind the scenes of small, repeated, and seemingly harmless decisions. It doesn't require you to be in debt, nor to be visibly failing. It simply requires you to continue doing everything the right way that you were taught, without questioning the system, without observing where that path truly leads. Many people confuse stability with progress, and that's precisely where the game begins to win. Because financial progress isn't about staying functional, it's about changing your position within the system. And most people never change. They work more, earn a little more, adjust their standard of living, feel a brief relief, and return to the same cycle. This isn't bad luck. It isn't a lack of intelligence. It isn't laziness. It's the effect of automatic decisions made without awareness of the larger machine that's turning behind the scenes. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a specific point where this game changes completely. A point that doesn't appear in traditional personal finance books and is almost never discussed clearly. I call this point the shark gate. It's not physical, it has no sign, it doesn't make a sound when it opens, but whoever crosses it immediately realizes that the rules are no longer the same. Before this door, money depends almost exclusively on your time, your energy, and your constant presence. If you stop, everything stops. After it, something changes. Decisions begin to matter more than brute force. The mindset transforms. The focus shifts from survival to building wealth. It's a silent but profound change that separates those who spend their entire lives operating within the system from those who actually begin to build wealth. The most curious thing is that many people come close to that door several times without realizing it. They feel the impact, notice the discomfort, realize that something needs to change, and they back away. Not out of conscious fear, but out of habit. Because crossing that door requires abandoning comfortable truths, reviewing old decisions, and accepting that going on autopilot has a much higher hidden cost than it seemed at the beginning. This journey doesn't begin with big investments or dramatic moves. It begins with awareness, with the ability to see the game that has always been there, operating silently while life went on normally. And when that perception happens, everything starts to make sense. The constant tiredness, the feeling of always being behind, the impression that time is passing too quickly without leaving a proportional result. If this resonates with you, comment below. This makes sense to me. What almost no one tells you is that postponing financial decisions isn't a neutral mistake. It's not something that simply sits still in time, waiting for you to be ready. Each postponed choice creates a silent, cumulative effect that reduces your options without you realizing it. At first, it feels comfortable. Nothing hurts, nothing explodes, nothing seems urgent. But the real cost begins to appear behind the scenes, far from the bank statement. When you procrastinate, what's being consumed isn't just money, it's time. And time is the only resource that doesn't come back, isn't negotiable, and doesn't offer discounts. With each passing year, without conscious decisions, the margin for error decreases. The alternatives become narrower. That idea of, if it doesn't work out, I'll change it later, starts to lose its power, because later arrives with more responsibilities, more pressure, and less flexibility. The impact of this goes far beyond personal finances. It invades mental tranquility, the way you sleep, the way you face the future. The mind never rests when it knows, even silently, that something important is being put off. It's a low, constant tension that accompanies the routine. You may not even notice it in your daily life, but it appears in small decisions, in the fear of taking risks, in the need to keep everything under control. And here lies a hidden truth that is rarely stated directly. The later you decide, the more expensive it becomes to decide. Not because the market changes, but because your position changes. Time that could work in your favor begins to work against you. Choices become more conservative, not out of strategy, but out of necessity. Freedom diminishes, and along with it goes the feeling of being in control of your own journey. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because the price of procrastination doesn't manifest itself as a clear charge. It doesn't arrive as an unexpected bill or a flashing red number. It appears in the form of opportunities you can't accept, paths you can't follow, risks you can't take. It appears when you realize that certain doors no longer open as easily, not because you failed, but because you waited too long to cross them. This is one of the hardest revelations to accept. The cost of ignoring important decisions today doesn't appear in the present. It appears diluted over years of your life, in choices made more out of fear than vision, in a constant feeling that potential was lost along the way. And when this realization hits, many people understand that it wasn't a lack of money, it was a lack of decision at the right time. If this is resonating with you right now, comment below. I'm on this journey too. When we talk about the shark door, it seems like we're talking about a place reserved for a special kind of person, almost as if there were an elite born with a secret map. But the truth is far less glamorous, and at the same time, much more powerful. Those who cross that door aren't necessarily smarter. You're not necessarily luckier. You don't have a gift that everyone else lacks. What changes is that these people understand something that almost no one accepts. Results come after behavior, not before. Most people want to see their money grow, so they can start acting like someone who builds wealth. They want to feel secure so they can organize their financial life. They want to earn more so they can learn discipline. But the real order of the game is the opposite. First you change your mindset, then you sustain your decisions, then you create structure, and only then do the numbers start to reflect it. This is the hidden truth that separates those who only try from those who truly move forward. There's an invisible discipline behind any real financial transformation. Invisible because nobody posts about it. Nobody shows it off. You can't flaunt it on your Instagram story. It's the discipline of saying no to things that seem small but are recurring. It's the tedious decision to build a margin, to create a reserve, to reduce noise. It's the habit of reviewing expenses even when you're feeling lazy. It's the consistency of investing a meaningless amount for months while your mind screams for a quick reward. And that's where many people give up, because the human brain hates the invisible. It wants immediate proof. It wants to feel that it's worthwhile now. But in the journey of building wealth, the most important phase is precisely the one where nothing seems to be happening. You keep making the right decisions, and for a while, the world doesn't applaud you. You keep maintaining consistency, and there's still no result that makes you proud. But beneath the surface, something is changing. You're ceasing to be a hostage to improvisation and becoming someone with structure. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's an emotional trap that prevents people from crossing the shark gate, even when they already have the ability. The trap is believing that the right path needs to be exciting, and it almost never is. The right path is repetitive, sometimes even boring, but it's solid. It doesn't depend on luck, trends, or gambling. It depends on you doing the basics with excellence long enough for the impact to appear. And notice how this changes everything. It's not about shortcuts, it's about systems. It's not about one big gamble. It's about a set of simple, aligned decisions that build a foundation. Whoever walks through the door creates a financial operating method that can withstand crises, withstand temptation, withstand bad times. And when the results appear, they seem magical to those watching from the outside, but for those on the inside, it's just a consequence. The point is, crossing that threshold requires accepting that you won't be saved by a miraculous discovery. You will be built by consistent choices. And when you understand that, the anxiety diminishes because you stop searching for the grand revelation and start executing what truly works, even if no one is watching. If this part made sense, write it in the comments. Decision before the result. There's a specific moment in this journey when everything becomes clearer and at the same time more uncomfortable. It's when you realize that crossing the shark door doesn't happen all at once. It's not a heroic leap nor a cinematic twist. It's much simpler, and for that very reason, more difficult. It begins with a conscious decision, a choice made without applause, without immediate guarantee, without the feeling of victory that the brain loves to chase. The first step is almost never visible to others. Sometimes it doesn't even seem like a big deal to you. It's deciding to stop pretending that time is infinite. It's admitting that indefinite procrastination has a real impact, even when nothing seems wrong on the surface. This is one of the most important hidden truths of this process. The greatest risk is not making a mistake, but remaining comfortable within a routine that leads nowhere different. Many people mistakenly believe they need more information, more certainty, more preparation. But in practice, what's lacking isn't knowledge, it's decision. The decision to look behind the scenes of one's own financial life without self-deception. The decision to take responsibility for choices, including those not made. This change in mindset doesn't bring immediate relief, but it brings something far more valuable: direction. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a detail that completely changes how you perceive time. The price of decisions isn't fixed, it increases. The longer you wait, the more expensive it becomes to act, not necessarily in money, but in energy, freedom, and room for maneuver. The clock doesn't make a sound, it doesn't warn you when it's speeding up, but it's always ticking. And ignoring that is one of the most common and most expensive traps on this journey. The point is not to generate panic, but to generate clarity. There is still time to act. There is still room for transformation, but this space doesn't grow with time, it shrinks. That's why the first step needs to happen before any grand plan, before any sophisticated strategy. It begins when you accept that continuing on autopilot is not neutral. It's a choice. And often, the most expensive choice of all. This awareness is a game changer, because it shifts the focus from the distant future to the present moment. It's not about predicting everything, nor about always being right. It's about aligning today's decisions with the life you want to sustain tomorrow. When that happens, something silently rearranges itself inside. Anxiety loses its power, confusion diminishes, and the journey ceases to be a race without direction, becoming instead a path with intention. If this part resonated with you, comment below. Time matters. If you've made it this far, it's because this conversation touched on something real. It's not about agreeing with everything. It's about feeling that this content brought clarity, provoked reflection, and helped you see the game in a different way. If you want to continue delving deeper into this type of subject, subscribing to the channel is the simplest way to ensure these conversations continue, always focusing on conscious decisions, structure, and building wealth in the real world. If you want, leave a comment saying, "This message was for me." This helps show that you were here until the end, and also creates a genuine exchange between people who are living this same journey. And if at any point you felt that this conversation made sense, the like is just a silent signal that it's worth continuing to produce content like this, calmly, in depth, and with respect for your time. There's a video over here that complements this topic and delves even deeper into this path of awareness and transformation. Click and continue reading there.